Don't sell yourself too cheaply. Today on Fortitude through Stoicism, and this is my 365-day journey of implementing the ancient philosophy of Stoicism into the life of this modern masculine man. Don't sell yourself too cheaply. The quote today by Seneca: I say, let no one rob me of a single day who isn't going to make a full return on the loss. I've read this a couple times, I've looked at this lesson a couple times, and I can tell you, I am incredibly guilty of this in my past. I have given so much of myself to so many people. And let's continue. So people spend a lot more money when they use a credit card than when they use cash. And this is an example from Ryan Holiday from the Daily Stoic. So that's why credit card companies push cards so aggressively once you spend more money, right? But the question is, do we treat our lives like that, right? Because if we have cash, if we know we have a finite amount of resources left, we're a lot more frugal with our spending. So since we don't think about our death, we don't think about when we're going to die, don't we treat our time in the same regard? We spend it so flippantly, right? So what Seneca is saying here, Seneca's maxim is the equivalent of cutting up your credit cards and switching to cash. He says, put real thought into every single transaction. Am I getting my money's worth here? Am I getting a fair trade? This is what we talked about in energy exchange, right? If you're always pouring into someone else's cup and you're always pouring into someone else's cup and always pouring into someone else's cup, eventually you can't pour from an empty cup. There has to be some kind of energy exchange from somewhere, somehow. Now, guys like me, we have to fill our own cup a lot of the time, right? Because we have to pour out so much. So this is where I've had, and again, this is me implementing this philosophy into my life. This has been something I've learned over the last year, especially through Stoicism, is that, I have given so much and given so much and given so much and allowed so little in exchange and return that I felt empty. I felt drained, truthfully. And it kind of took a little bit of the wind out of my sails. And then I paused, I reflected, and I realized that I had an energy imbalance. It was just no good. Too much energy going out, not enough energy coming in. And that's why I kind of talk about cleaning house a little bit. But I've also done this in business, right? So don't sell yourself too cheaply. And so, moment of vulnerability here. I grew up very, very poor. And, I grew up single mom, no dad around. Dad certainly didn't help my mom with anything. Mom had to raise two boys on her own as a bartender and, some other things. So money was always a thing, right? I couldn't go to birthday parties, food was a challenge sometimes. So when I got into the business world, the numbers scared the hell out of me. Like when I was in the mortgage business and people were getting like $250,000 homes back then, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm afraid to say the number on this payment because I had such a fear over because of the way that I grew up. And I had an early mentor who was really successful in the mortgage business. Her name was Carol Johnson. And she was an older woman. She was a large, older woman, Jewish woman. And here I am, a fit, young, this is early in my career, so I'm a fit, young, just out of the Marines. We couldn't be different people, right? Completely polar opposite people. And she said to me one day, she says, what's the difference between you and me? And I was thinking there's quite a bit different between, us. It says, in regards to, what we do, our work, she goes, you write mortgages, I write mortgages. She goes, what's the difference? Now, the difference between me and Carol Johnson is at the time, I was doing all small stuff, 100,000 all across the country, small stuff. And Carol Johnson was writing loans for De Niro and Pacino and all these superstars, and because she had relationships with the CPAs in the city and stuff, financial advisors. Fun fact, celebrities are broke. Just so you know, they're leveraged out their gills because they got to put on a show, and they are broke. All that money that comes in, everyone takes it. They get I swear to God, they get like a living allowance. It's really a lot to see. But anyway, I digress. So Carol she was doing all these super jumbo stuff, $10 million loans. I'm doing $100,000 loans. She's doing big stuff. And so when she asked me, she said, Shawn, what's the difference between what you and I do? And I couldn't really think of anything. I mean, appraisals, loan applications, documents, loan programs, all the same shit, right? She goes, the difference between me and you is I'm not afraid of the extra zero. She goes, it's just a zero. It's nothing. It's simply moving a decimal point. Same people, same thing. It's just a decimal point. And I heard it. I heard the lesson. But to overcome the fear of that extra decimal point took a lot for me. So fast forward, here I am. I've always, been in the coaching and consulting and done something along the lines with the other thing I've done in my life. So in coaching, I've always charged, a couple $100 a month for a couple appointments, relatively inexpensive, right? In the coaching space. And I always heard about these 7-figure consultants. I'm like, how the fuck do they do that? Like, this is a thing of mystery. Like, people can't charge that kind of money. Like, nobody does that. Nobody does that. So then when I actually went out in the field and started consulting full time in the field, and the first time I had to give my client a check for $25,000 or an invoice for $25,000, swear to God, my hands were shaking. I was going to throw up, and she grabbed it, she signed it, and she slid the check. She said, man, it was a great week. Thank you so much. I was like, what the fuck just happened? What the fuck just happened? She just wrote a $25,000 check for me to sit in her office for a week and help her run her business and solve these problems. I'm like, she didn't even blink. She signed that thing and slid it over to me with a thank you. I thought to myself, you son of a bitch. All these years, all these people that you've helped and companies and things like that, and then to truly see your value. And so again, this is 2 years ago I started in the field of consulting. So now I know my value because I know what I can do, right? And so there are very few people who will travel 6 days a week. There are very few people who will go into the unknown 2 or 3 times a week into a project they don't know, into a situation they don't know. All I know is an address, an amount, and I got to click an accept or deny button in 10 minutes. Are you going to take this mission? Not take this mission. And then once I take this mission, then you find out all the details, right? Then you find out all about it. And that's part of the mystery, because I'm on a plane looking through financials and my analyst reports and getting my team spun up, and a lot of times not sleeping in the middle of the night because, we a couple flights in the middle of the night, and then I got to drive and then get in the hotel room, get my suits hung up, get prepped, get a couple hours, maybe sometimes, but then be able to walk into that business with 100% courage and confidence and help those people transform a dire situation, right? And then you look around, there's employees everywhere, they're nervous, they don't know how they're gonna, they're gonna lose their job, how they're gonna feed their kids, right? And you're the guy that walks in and you're the guy that's gonna help them fix that. Yeah, I'm worth $25,000 a week at least. And that was as a consultant. So now I set up all these projects. I put my consultants in place. I manage the whole thing. And yeah, I get a piece of the entire puzzle, and I get my consulting fees. Because I decided not to sell myself so cheaply. I understand my value, and right now I'm undervalued significantly. That's what I've realized. Now being in this competitive field and being in all these businesses for the last 2 years, there's not a business that I've been in that I could not run better than the owner. And nothing against the owners, it's just that this is what I do. This is my flex. I mean, they're great people, great kids, great lives. This is what I do. I mean, I'm a business warrior. I mean, this is my flex. I mean, I read P&L sheets like they're music. I can see systems and process like it's an art piece. And yeah, maybe that's because I'm on the spectrum a little bit. But hey, listen, that's my superpower, and I'm going to use it. And so, went a little bit off course today because I want to go 2 different directions with this. And so, the reason why I told you that, it wasn't to brag, right? It was to tell you that my energy is so incredibly important, because to do the things that I do takes a significant amount of effort, ongoing learning, ongoing preparation, always working my professional skills, psychology. I mean, forget just the business stuff, but just managing the emotions of these clients and dealing with these interventions. Always being in a confrontational, high conflict situation, dealing with that stress, always. And when I tracked it on my whoop, when I first started, my energy, my stress spikes were off the wall. Now I'll actually have lower stress in a closing than I do when I'm sleeping. So now I understand my worth. I understand how important my energy and my time is. And yeah, that's why over the last year I've got off social media, because I don't feel the need to share everything anymore. I don't engage in those conversations with all those little energy leaks, I call them. You know, a DM from somebody, hey, I'm going to spend 5 minutes of distraction just communicating or responding to this. I don't do that anymore. No dating apps, none of that stuff. No external energy, hairs, links, anything like that, so I can put all of my focus into one thing, and that's executing my life plan right now. And so the question we have to ask ourselves in every transaction, according to Seneca, is, am I getting my money's worth? Is this a fair trade? That is why I talk about my mindset garden. That is why I talk about having such high boundaries and high standards. That is why I guard my entrance like a warrior. And on that, we're out of here.